What's up, everybody? It's Draymond Green. Make sure you subscribe to the Volumes YouTube channel below so you don't miss any more of this great content going forward. Let's talk Brooklyn Nets. There was something very interesting that I've been thinking about, and the reason I've been thinking about it is because immediately the first thing you saw when it was announced that Kevin Durant requested a trade was the whole narrative starting. KD's running from this, he's doing this. It gets hard, he doesn't stay, blah, blah, blah. And I sat there and I asked myself, if KD did indeed request a trade, is that KD saying, partially, I made a mistake? And I answered the question for myself, as obviously I'm not going to ask Kevin that, or why would I ask Kevin that? But I answered it for myself, and I said, possibly yes, possibly no. But regardless if it's yes or no, why does it matter? Like, if Kevin Durant says, I actually don't want to be here anymore, I want to go to somewhere else, why does it matter? Why does that make you weak? Why does that make him, it means he's running from something? I don't understand that. And the reason I don't understand it is because players are in control of their situation. Players are in control of their destiny. And so why is it that it's just not, that's the next step in his career? Because again, I always go back to if a guy leaves Google or if someone leaves Google to go to Apple after 3 or 4 years, and then they leave Apple after 2 years to go to Tesla, and then they leave Tesla after 4 years to go to DocuSign, no one's going to say that person ran, or that person did this, or that person did that. Everyone's going to say that person did what was best for their career and best for their livelihoods. But us as athletes, it's never viewed that way. And it's baffling to me that it's never viewed that way, because our lifespan with this career is actually way shorter than someone that's working at Google or working at Apple or anyone else in the world, for that matter, that's not an athlete for the most part. Why can't you do everything you can to get it right? Even if that means making a wrong move and continuing on. Why is it that athletes are viewed that way? It's baffling to me. It really baffles me that we've put ourselves in a position, we have become the absolute best at what we do, which is, if you're in the NBA, you are at the absolute top of the food chain when it comes to basketball. And if you are the absolute best, like someone at Apple would be, like someone at Google would be, why is it such a bad thing that we control our destiny? But you work that hard to be as good as you can be, to have that power. That's baffling to me. And I'm still trying to figure it out out. So I saw the narratives and I saw all of these things, and I'm like, but why is that? And I personally think it goes back to some things that I've said in the past and how people view athletes. How people can't accept the fact that athletes are now businessmen and no longer just playing basketball. And at some point, people have to realize and be able to accept the fact that athletes are businessmen and we make business moves and business decisions, because you are operating a business. I am operating Draymond Green Inc., or whatever you want to call it. So why, if Draymond Green makes a move, a business move, is it not viewed as just that? Let's talk about the move that's made. Is that a good move for business, or is it not? But to start calling somebody weak and they run from challenges, that's baffling to me. Because that man has worked his entire life to be in that position to where he controls where he goes next. And by the way, everyone in the NBA can't control where they go next. So to be in that position, to have the opportunity to control what you do next, that's the American dream. That is the American dream. Yet, athletes, Kevin Durant in particular in this situation, is killed for it. And it makes no sense to me. And what it shows me is those that do that, they still have not adjusted to the fact that athletes are businessmen. And at some point, or businesswomen. And at some point, you got to be able to make that adjustment. Because if not, you're going to keep throwing these terrible narratives out there and missing the big picture, which is very simple. We're not just playing the game of basketball no more. This is big business. You see all these contract extensions. Nikola, Joker, Jokic, $270 million in 5 years. For 5 years. Guess what? The next one he'll probably sign for $450 million. That's big business. That's no peanuts. It's the largest contract in NBA history. You got to make right business moves when you're making that type of money. People got to realize that. Devin Booker, $224 million extension. Karl Anthony Towns, $224 million extension. Ja Morant, $193 million, possibly $231. Zion Williamson, the same thing. Brad Beal, $230, I think it was $34 million or somewhere in that ballpark. Like, that's big business. Darius Garland, $193, could be $231. Zach LaVine, $230 million. You got to make good decisions when you're talking this type of money. And so the fact that guys have put themselves in positions to be the driver of the bus, as everybody say, you got to drive that bus when you're talking these contracts too. Not just how someone wants to see you on the court. The NBA is no longer flying commercial and making $60 grand a year. Guy got me 5 years, 270. Let me do the math. 50 would be 250. 5. That's $54 million a year. You know how many people in the world make $54 million a year? And yet, people still can't wrap their head around the fact that athletes are businessmen. And that's why they drive these terrible ass narratives. Somebody's weak because they're making a business decision because they're controlling their future as opposed to simply getting the understanding. But at some point, they'll get it. Maybe maybe it's going to happen once you see more and more guys in team ownership. More and more guys in team ownership in other sports, not just basketball. Maybe they'll get it then. But until then, I guess we got to keep listening to these narratives about how a guy's weak and he's doing this and he's doing that. But my hope for all athletes in this position is that you can see past the narrative and that you can understand that how important it is for you to make the right decision for your business. It's very, very important. It's way more important